good evening and welcome to Be More Super Live, the second live show of the week. Dan, you missed a great show last night with Christy Burke, but I forgive you. I forgive you. You was at work, so it's all right. But how are you, my friend? I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, not so bad, not so bad. It looks like I've been chopping down trees wearing this, doesn't it? Looks like I've been lumberjacking away after our last chat about the lumberjack man. So yes, I thought I'd get involved and see if I could be as sexy as him.
Oh, well, we'll let the audience decide on that. And he's referring to Clive Standen, of course, from Vikings. We've got Julia Plews saying hi, Brian and Dan. She tried to watch yesterday, but she's on holiday, I think, in coma. I think
Oh,
that's right. So the internet is a bit patchy. But what a guest we've got tonight. So we haven't got a live stream next week because I'm away in Turkey. Having a great time, I'm sure, hopefully. But the week after, we have got a guest that's associated with tonight's guest. So not next week, the week after, the 28th of what month are we in? August.
August
We've
one.
got Samantha Robinson on the show. And then the week after, we've got the lovely Zoe Luna that sadly had to reschedule due to illness. So she will be on the 4th. But Dan, I've got to say, tonight's guest is not only a phenomenal performer, but very intelligent. So I'm a bit nervous that we're going to sound like cavemen. So not
Yeah,
only
she's going to run mental rings
oh,
around us tonight, isn't
not
she?
only is she graduated with a degree in marketing, business administration, and sociology from the University of Cincinnati, but she also went and got a master's degree, a distinction she got in acting at the Royal School of Central School, no, the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama. So I'm
That's
sure we're
easy
going
for
to.
you to say. Seems like you could have done with going there. To be fair,
I
Brian.
know my elocution lessons. You know what I mean? But let's try and be as intelligent as possible. Are you ready, Dan, to introduce this week's
Yep.
guest? Yeah. So
Yep.
she's starring in a new film that's coming out on demand on the 17th of September. It's been premiered at Fright Fest in London at the end of the month. It's Hauntology. It's a
Haunt.
wonderful. I know. I can't speak tonight. You might have to do all the speaking. It's a wonderful Samantha Russell. Samantha, welcome to the show.
What a lovely intro. That was
Oh,
fab.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Yeah. How
Brian.
how did you how did you find Brian's Nottingham pronunciation of the word haunt? I really enjoyed that. That's going to stay with me. That
wait a second.
That was
How do you say it? Haunt.
I
hot.
pronounced the H for a start.
Okay.
Haunt.
Okay. Oh wow, wow. We're having elocution lessons already.
Oh,
But yeah, I do apologise about the mispronunciation. Literally, I've spent too long up north because I used to live and work in London, so my accent's changed over the years, and
where
I'm
are you based
surprised.
now?
So I am in Mansfield, and the best way to describe it is it's Robin Hood. I can't even speak. Robin Hood land. So Sherwood Forest is literally in my back garden. So I'm in the Midlands, and Dan is currently in London. He's moved there, so bless him. He's over friendly, and everyone else in London just doesn't want to talk to him. Is that
They
right,
don't
Dan?
want to say hello in the morning. They don't nod at people in Starbucks, or actually, it's not Starbucks down here. That's kind of frowned upon in fancy Chiswick. It's they go to places like Joe the Juice and spend £8 on a lychee and lime juice or some nonsense.
Yeah, I'm guilty. I love Joe and the Juice. Sorry.
Fancy,
So you
fancy.
may have seen Samantha in front of you, and you're thinking, "Oh,
Yeah,
who would pay that for £8 for that?" But I'm
yeah.
sure it's lovely. So from a potential career in marketing to gracing our screens, so you started in Cincinnati. Where is that? Where you're from originally?
Yeah, I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. Yeah, but I live in the UK, so this is all
Oh,
good.
we'll forgive you. No, I mean we're gonna talk about the differences between the US and the UK very very shortly. But I read that you were part of a can't even speak. Sorority. Oh God, Dan, save me. Do you know what? I'm not normally like this. I don't know what it is. If it's the coffee, you were part of a sorority. You know
Right,
what
I
I'm
got it. I
talking
got it.
about.
I
They
got it.
don't exist
So
here in the
Samantha,
future. Yeah. So
See,
it's
but
Samantha,
fair.
in movies, there are a list of things that we don't understand as British people, and one of them being what does sophomore mean, and sororities. What are they? We don't know what they are. Is there any way you can shed a light on it? And is a sorority like what it is in the movies, like on films like House Bunny?
Yes. The only thing,
Sound.
so yeah, so my
thank you.
sorority, Sigma Gamma Rho, Sorority Incorporated. It's just like the films, though we did not have our own house or anything like that. But it's, yeah, you go to university. If you're lucky, you get to pledge with an organization such as my organization, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority, and you live happily ever after, making connections from university that last forever.
So
Is it
the
like I'm trying to work it out? Like, is it like just like a group that don't have like a similar? I don't, like you have like AV club and you have drama club and stuff like that. That makes sense to me because they all have a shared interest. So a sorority is essentially an organization where you all get together, but you all have different interests.
Yes, but no. So it's like more philanthrop. How would you say? Oh my God, I'm turning to Brian.
sorry.
It's more philanthropic. So a lot more of yeah, you're doing more community service, things for people, underprivileged youth. You're going into
Mhm.
communities. It's more about service. And my sorority that I was in was about greater service, greater progress in your community and what you do. So they're all based around giving back to communities, and you get to party. So it's like the best of both worlds.
Excellent. So it's a bit like House Bunny, but a bit toned down from the sound of it. You're doing good as well. Then you travelled. You travelled across the pond to complete your masters at the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama. What made you decide on coming over to the UK to study, compared to, say, the schools in the US?
So I I always wanted to come to London, but I just didn't know how I would get to live here. So I was like, "Oh, what's the best way to come?" And it was studying. But I also, because I did some acting before I studied, I wanted to go and study somewhere where there was like a lot of very established actors who were good, and the UK just happened to be that place. So I auditioned, and it was a really tough audition to get into Central. Like Judi Dench was our president, right? Like Kit
Wow.
Harington went there. So it was really, really tough people you were up against, and just with the course leaders. And I got in, uh, luckily, and it's just been kind of cool ever since. I've been here. I think this is my 7th year here in the UK now. So
Mhm. I mean, it
Wow.
always amazes me how like people from the States get into acting, because a lot of them do like degrees in things that have got nothing to do with the arts, and then all of a sudden they go into acting. But here in the UK, normally the path is you'll go to a college and do performing arts, and then you'd go on to a university or an acting school. So do you think that now you've been trained at Central, that gives you more of an edge over a lot of performers that are in the US? I mean, is your toolbox full of amazing tools to use?
I will say, since I graduated Central, the caliber of auditions that I've gotten and have booked have been way better than before I went to Central. Um, but it's one of those things, drama school, you have to be mentally prepared for it. I think if you plan on being an actor and have, acting as profession, you must go through drama school. It's quite there's a conflict when people say that, but I think it prepares you for the business and the industry, because you know it ebbs and flows, and if you're not
Mm.
understanding of it as a craft and a job, and you just see it as this glory, oh, you're going to be famous, everything's going to be beautiful, money, 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 then you're not going to last in the industry. So I think just being in drama school prepares you to create tough skin.
Mm.
I think on top of your toolbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely tough skin, because the amount of rejections that you get, and I admire anyone in the industry, because it is a bit of a cutthroat industry, because when you go for auditions, there are many more in front of you that would happily trip you up before going into the room to get the part. So talk us through some of your early work that really cemented your decision in actually taking this path. I mean, was there a moment after, say, you came out of Central that you was working that you thought, do you know what? This is definitely the right choice for me.
After I came out of Central, gosh, because when I came out of Central, we went right into COVID. So that's when
Oh,
I was
bless
like,
you.
Oh,
a horrible
great time.
decision. I was like, this was the worst thing I could have done. My mom told me to stick with marketing. I should have listened to my mother. All 2020, even because COVID lasted to 2021 here. We were like kind of
Mm.
suffering a bit. We had a couple
Mm.
lockdowns. So um, I think after COVID, I realized 2022, I did a one-woman show called I Shall Not Be Moved. And we had maybe about 70 performances in the US. And I went to Scotland for Edinburgh Fringe. And we did about like 15 shows there. And I think that really grounded me and embraced me in understanding that this was my career, because I was on stage by myself for an hour and a half every night, no backup, no, go behind the curtain, just there by myself. And I knew, like, okay, this is what you're meant to be doing, and you're doing it well.
And I wanted to mention that because it was only the other night I was talking to the wife and I was saying that we need to go up to Edinburgh to the Fringe because I've never been. And it's one of those events that literally is world famous. And I admire anyone that performs, and then not only to perform but by yourself. And it's a great
Mhm.
story. So this one woman play that you did, this performance was about the civil rights pioneer Betty Daniels Roseman. Um,
Right.
I mean, what was that like? Not only to be the only one on stage, but also to be delivering such a powerful story to the audiences.
Gosh, I think I learned more about myself as a woman during that show, because people talk about like how hard it is being a lady, and you really you start to understand it when you like, I don't, it was just a lot of stressors with that show because I had to live through her and then also live my experience as well, pretending to be her. So I was quite layered in my understanding of reality. So it was, gosh, it was a full circle moment. Just and I have no regrets. You know how some people say live in the moment and just, you have nothing to look back on and say, I wish I would have more. I literally lived that whole experience out on stage. I remember everything, the smell of the theater, how people looked, how people cried, how people laughed. And I don't have to do it again because I would just remember every single second of it. It was great. It was really great.
And am I
The
right
the
in
Edinburgh
saying that?
Fringe can
Oh,
be brutal, can't it? I mean, it can really be brutal. A friend of mine, a comedian called Richard Cobb, he went to the Fringe recently and only sold one ticket to his show, and so unfortunately had to cancel it. And I didn't realize how regular that was, and how many of them actually graft through that one person sat there clapping you along as well. Like it can be really brutal, can't it? Did you ever have that fear when you were there?
At Fringe, no, because I knew the show so well. At that point, I had performed it like so many times in the US. It was more just, it was more just being present. It was another opportunity to perform the show for a new audience. And I liked
Mhm.
it because UK audience is way different than the US audience. Like a lot of people in America, either that go to theater had experienced the civil rights movement because they're older, theater goers,
Mhm.
or they had relatives who experienced, or they had a close, connection to it. Here it was a bit different. So I enjoyed, having politicking with people after the show to see what they thought and what they took from it. Like a Scottish man who just came, happened to see something from 1960s, like, oh, what's this all about? And he's like, I did not know this happened here. And,
Yeah.
you explained something new to me. So I think I appreciated just connecting with a new audience. But I was fortunate I didn't have just one person in the audience. That we had at least had six. Though that's not that many. We at least had six on days that were slow.
Oh well,
So
that's
do you know what?
that's 600% better, right? In your face, Richard Cobb. Wait till I tell him that.
It's all right. I'm sure Richard's mum enjoyed the show. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I read up about Betty, and I didn't realize her story and what an incredible woman that she was. I mean, am I right in saying that you've met her, or am I?
Yes.
Oh, what was that
Yes, we're
like?
very close friends. So her grandson actually wrote the play about her life. And she gave him her personal diaries that she, used to write down her thoughts during the civil rights movement and beyond, just of her life. Gave them to him, and he wrote the play about her, being a freedom rider during that time. Gave it to a couple theaters, and Ensemble Theater was the theater. Was like, this is a great story. We want to tell it. And when during lockdown was when they just did a table read, and they were like, we want to do, I guess you would call it like a virtual live stream
Mm,
of the reading, but it was something that looped for a week. So they did it for a full week, and it got so much attention during COVID. They were like, we want to put this on stage. And I said, I
Wow.
was the reader during the table read, and it was like almost a 200-page play. And I said to myself, boy, whoever gets this play is going to be busy because this is a lot of work. And then it ended up being me.
Yeah, yeah.
And before I accepted the role, I did ask if I could meet with her and speak to her and ask if I had her permission and grace to take on the role of her life. And, we went to her favorite restaurant, Papados. And I said, Miss Betty, do I have permission to play you and, the story of your life on stage? And she said, baby, if you didn't, you wouldn't be sitting across from me. So that was my yes. So
that
she's a
is
lovely woman. Yeah. She just turned
that.
86, I believe. Yeah,
Yeah,
86.
Wow.
yeah, and
Wow.
I mean, I've been watching interviews with her, and stories like that, I think are so important to keep alive. To keep it going, so people are educated because youngsters now they don't realize what people went through, in this country and in the US, and what wonderful people are out there with amazing stories of courage and what they went through and I'm so glad. I mean, I've got two little girls, and I'm so glad that they've turned out the way the way that they are because I believe that racism, you're not born a racist. Racism is bred into someone, and I just
Mhm.
love seeing my girls and not one little hint of racism, and it's just a beautiful thing, and it should everyone should follow the lead of kids. I really think that.
Yes, especially, we're dealing with some tough stuff here in the UK
Mm.
right now. So it's
Oh,
like,
it's ridiculous.
I don't
It is ridiculous.
I really don't understand, and but that show was one for the books because it opened up a couple dialogues within people in the US and
Mm.
here, which I really appreciated to hear both sides.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's really interesting because when it comes to that period of history, we don't really get taught about it in the UK. As daft as it sounds, up until being about 15, my only real knowledge of it was from Bill and Ted cartoon on a Saturday morning, that type of thing. Because we just don't teach it over here. So I found, looking back on that story was a new experience to me. Do you feel the difference in attitudes towards race differ between the US and the UK? I appreciate that's a hell of a question for a light chat, but I always it's kind of like a burgeoning interest of mine, as
Mm.
it were.
Yeah, but I think it's necessary. It's a good conversation because I notice it, especially, with what we're dealing with now. But I will say it's not as overt, I guess is the word. Like in
Hmm.
America,
Hmm.
it's just like blatant. That's the first thing you think about when you walk out the door. It's the first thing you see, like as a layered minority or as any minority. It's just something that you're confronted with on the regular. Here, it's like, oh, we don't do that here. But wait a minute, now it shows up. You know what I mean? Like in certain
There's a
spaces. Yeah.
there's a wonderful comedian from Georgia called Reginald D. Hunter, and he came over to this country a number of years ago. And as part of his act, he says, "You guys over here," I'll not do the accent. He said, "You guys over here have got this wonderful class system, and it's a real good way of discriminating against somebody that looks like you." I think it's amazing, and for some reason that as a joke really kind of made me laugh, but it made me go into a rabbit hole to learn about it a little bit more and about the nuances and the differences. So my apologies for bringing it up in a light-hearted chat, but I'm glad we can have these grown-up conversations.
This is life. This is life.
It is, and I wish that people would just rethink their morals. And it was only a few weeks ago I was saying that I'm so glad I live in the UK because nothing really happens here. And then all of a sudden, I'm not saying it again because we'll probably get hurricanes next, and we never get hurricanes or tornadoes. But let's talk about roles. I mean, what does a role have to get Samantha excited about it?
Right now, post strike, money. No, I'm kidding. To be honest, I've always really been attracted to drama-filled roles. That's been my thing. It's like high intense drama, like a lot of crying, depression, sad stuff. It's how it's cathartic. That's how you get your emotions out, crying in front of people, but it's not really you. But lately I've been quite blessed to work in different spaces. I was doing a comedy show called Galentine's Day. It is strictly, two girls, one American, one Black British. Sorry, one African American and one Black British. They meet. The African American girl's getting her hair done by the Black British girl on Valentine's Day, and they find out they're seeing the same guy. Like
Oh,
high comedy, like stuff that I
oh,
typically would. It's really juicy, yeah. So
oh.
yeah, I'm attracted to more drama, but as of late, I've been getting into some comedy stuff.
Awesome. Well, you've got to flex those acting muscles, I suppose. And you often find the best serious actors make the best, comedy actors. I mean, Robbie Coltrane, that sadly passed a while ago. He was one of the best serious actors that we had. But yeah, comedy, he just had an amazing talent for it. So, having worked here in the UK and in the US, what are the biggest differences for a working actor in the way of the industry? Because I feel that in the US, I feel that you've got to jump through hell of a lot more hoops to get to where you want to get to, or is that not the case?
It's funny. I work more in the US. Here, I feel like there's a bit more hoops, only because sometimes the UK is not as loving toward international performers, which
No.
makes sense because, yeah, the talent pool here is there's a lot of talent and there's small amounts to go out to that talent. So they're going to stick with even if you do whatever accent, Jamaican, British, whatever the role requires, if you're not that, 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to give it to someone who is or does have that background.
Mm,
It's so bad that when I was fresh out of drama school, the conversation was always, okay, Samantha, we know you're Black, but what kind of Black are you? Are you Nigerian? Are you Jamaican? Because I'm African American and a lot of people don't understand about, the transatlantic slave
mm,
trade, they have to place me in some category of diversity because that's most people know where they're from here. Like they know that they're Scottish, they know that they're Nigerian or Ghanaian.
mm,
I just know that my family have been living in America from Ohio, Alabama, and stuff for the past 100 years. That's what I know. But recently, I found out my family, my grandmother on my dad's side, that we're Ghanaian. And my grandmother knew that all along, but it wasn't something that was discussed because we just knew that we were Black until I
mm.
came to the UK and I shared with her that I had diversity and cultural dysphoria, I like to call it, is when she shared, oh, yeah, well, we're Ghanaian. So, which is nice because now I can say, oh, I'm Ghanaian, but I have no ties to that culture really, besides my partner. Um, so I will say the difference is a lot of times they want you to kind of stick to what you are for certain roles, and they build upon that rather than just like having whoever do whatever. In America, it's like, oh, can you do an African accent? Just go out and audition for it. So it's a bit different in that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
I
incredible.
know that casting people can be quite brutal as well. Especially for Asians. I've had quite a few actors on here, and because they've said that they didn't want, is it Unilid, which I think is shocking. I think that yeah, he
Is
put
that
it
a
out
phrase
there.
they use?
Yeah, yeah. And it's
Jeez.
shocking. It really is. And I think it needs to change. But, you know, old habits definitely do die hard. So when starting out in the industry, I'm sure you had your hopes and dreams of what you wanted to do and who you wanted to work with. I mean, did you have a plan in place in where you wanted to see yourself in like 10 years' time?
You know, every actor kind of starts out with this silly thing, I'm going to win an Oscar. And then when you leave drama school, I'm going to win a BAFTA. But that's all you say. You don't really understand what goes in the middle of that. And then when you work long enough, you start to go, I just want to work. This is, February. I want to work February to June, and then I'll take holiday. Let me just get jobs until, I'm ready to take a break. So I think it changes as you get older and as you work more in the profession and you realize what's important. Um, I just got a new manager, and we were having the conversation of understanding artistry and commerce
Mm.
and
Yeah.
how to master both of those, because there will be moments where you're making a lot of money and someone comes to you, they say, we want you to do this advert, it's this amount of money, and you're like, but I'm an artist, but still take the money.
Yeah, yeah.
or
Get the
or
advert.
there's moments where you're like, I have no money and there's this horrible job that can mess up my career, but it's a lot of money. What do you do? So understanding the business of acting um, is very important. And as you grow and continue to work in the field, that's you just kind of work with that as you move on.
And it's lovely
There's
you
a
say
there's
that.
a
So sorry, I was going to say Joanna Lumley, who's one of our greatest actors. She's always said that she doesn't care what part she gets as long as she's working, and she's been working for like 50 years, and she's just one of the most amazing performers out there. But it's quite nice. Is there snobbery though within the industry with other actors and performers? Do you know, in the way that what you're working on is it quite competitive?
As far as going out for roles, or
No, like other actors, within circles. I mean, is there snobbery, like sort of, if you're at a certain level, but yet someone books a big budget thing? I mean, is there a lot of competitiveness amongst other actors? Because I know in the dance community, I know a lot of dancers, and I've been at Pineapple Studios, and before they banned smoking, this is years ago, and honest to God, you could cut the atmosphere with a knife. They're very much competitive with each other. Yeah. They've got to be healthy. They've got to keep the weight down. They've got to be slim, and so they're smoking like one after the other. But it's changed since then. It's all like yogurt and fruit and everything like that, and no smoking. But yeah, is it competitive?
it's competitive, but I've been really fortunate. I don't surround myself with those type of people. Like those aren't my friends. My friends, we kind of cheer each other on. Like I have friends who they're on like crazy Netflix series in France and different places. Like I'm happy for them because I know it's like feast or famine in this game.
Mm.
But there are actors, and I've seen it before. Actually, I have a good story. So I worked a series like my second year acting professionally, and it was a really small thing. It never got released, and we had to do an improv scene because something was missing from the script, and the director was like, "Let's just add a bit here," and so we did a little improv. Me and this guy with the director and the lead actor, and the director was happy with what we did. I had did a couple 1-2 lines. He's like, oh, that's funny, Sam, let's keep that, make sure you say that. I'm like, okay, cool. So camera starts rolling. Now this guy who's also like doing a little supporting role like me, he's been in the improv with me, right? We've just done a whole rehearsal. When the cameras start rolling, he says all of the lines that I said.
Mm.
He says all of my lines. And so after we finish the scene, the director goes cut. He's like, Sam, what happened? You didn't say anything. And I'm like, did you not see this guy say all of my lines?
Oh,
So he goes,
um,
okay, let's do it again. We did it again. He did the same exact thing. And I was like, you know what? This is insane. I said nothing. I'm glad that series never came out. So
and would we know?
And that's
I
probably
mean,
why.
I mean, we're not going to get you to name this person, but would we know this person?
now, yes, because they've been working.
Boo.
Boo.
I was really hoping you were going to say like, now he faded away. He now works in HR, which would have really made my day. You know what I mean? I'd have really enjoyed that.
No, I think what he did, he's kind of been doing throughout his career. So T.
Yeah,
Shame on you.
stealing everybody's
Um,
line. That's what he's been doing, that guy. Now,
Yeah.
listen, Samantha, what is your British accent like? Given your travels, have you managed to pick up a British accent? I don't want you to do it now, by the way. But what I want you to do, because I'm going to put you right on the spot now, because we need to break for a sponsor's message here, because I've just realised the time and we get carried away for it. Now, I want you to say in your best British accent, "Hold tight, kids. Some people are going to try and sell you some things." Are you ready?
No, I'm not doing that.
Do it.
No, she's not. Let's go to our sponsor's message. We'll be back with Samantha in a moment. So this is a sponsor's message. As always, it's such an honor to talk about Prop Store, because Prop Store is the number one place to go if you want to buy a screen use prop or costume piece from your favorite movie or TV show. They have got an auction coming up tomorrow. The Entertainment Memorabilia live auction. We were with Chuck live the other week.
Is that the one with the screen matched Batwing that we saw last week?
Yes, that's going to
The
go for
6 foot
$500,000.
Batwing
Yeah,
from the 1989 movie. I mean, that is top banana.
I reckon that's going to fetch 600,000. That is my guess. But we've got some good news for people that may not have 600,000 in their pockets, because Prop Store have kind of given us a wonderful code. So if you go to propstore.com,
What's the code? Tell them the code.
Well, you can see
Tell
at
them
the
the code,
bottom.
Brian.
I've ruined it for
Tell them the
everyone.
code, Brian.
So you
You've
can
ruined
get
it.
10% off at the Buy Now section, from everything from the Buy Now section, which is thousands of items. And the code is very, very simple. So to get
What's the code, Brian?
off,
Tell them the code, Brian. To get 10% off, Brian. What's the code? Brian 10. There it is.
Brian 10. It's simple. It's simple. We wanted to make it simple. To be fair, they gave me that code. I thought I was going to get a cool
Lovely.
code, but it's simple and straight to the point. So check it out, propstore.com. Check out the auction starting tomorrow, and that goes on till the 18th, I think it is, the 18th of August. You can watch it live on their website, which is pretty awesome to see, but they're in LA, so bear in mind the time difference for anyone in the UK. But it's always good to have a guess of how much that's going to fetch. But let's go back to Samantha. Hello, we're back with you. Don't worry, I won't get him to get you to do any English accents.
I'll say this. I'll say I've done British accent many times, and I will say my only British accent that I've done in the UK in drama school, well, I should say in drama school, I got distinction on. So I'll say that.
Oh, well, there you go. You see, you could have easily done the Brian 10 code. You saw
No,
how easy and simple that was.
I have to practice though every single time.
Have you,
Well-
living in the UK, Samantha, have you come across the different accents? Because what happens is, that obviously, as you travel around the UK, you drive for 2 hours and bread's got a different name. It's absolutely insane. Even London, like you've got your North London, you've got your Cockney accent, but then you go south of the river, and it's bare man just talking like they ain't got no time for you to talk like that, Rob. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh my life. Oh,
Oh,
I just
that's my favorite.
I wanted some chips. Yeah, it's like because it came over because there was a load of West Indian people that came over in the 60s and 70s, and and during that period, they were the coolest kids in school. So you marry that their accent with the Cockney accent, and that's where that South London accent came from, where I can't even be asked to open my mouth to talk to you, bro. Like it's just like it's just got such a dismissive quality to it, but the colourful way that that accent uses words is absolutely beautiful. So like, instead of saying, oh, that's rubbish, that's crap, that's trash, they'll go, oh, that is waste. And you're like, I like what you've done there. That's quite clever.
Well, Dan, I used to be a prison officer, and I was a prison officer at Youth Offenders. So I was surrounded by all the inmates talking like that. So they'll be like going, oh, mate, she's butters. And I was like, what? Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm linking this girl. And I'm like, you're linking what? And I just didn't get it.
You're in prison. You're not linking anything, bro. Like,
I know.
There's no linking happening. You're locked up, fam.
Yeah.
Do you know what they call that? They call that in drama school the MLE accent, multicultural English accent. The
Oh,
London
is
accent.
that what it's called? Does it
Wow.
have a name? Because I've always been fascinated by the transatlantic accent, the one that was prevalent in
Mm.
Hollywood in the 1920s. Like,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
so you know the one, Brian, you know where it's like Cary Grant, that type of
Yeah.
era as well,
Yeah.
where they're kind of going, "Hey, you stop doing that, and we're all going to go talk like this, but in an American accent." And you're like, "Oh, that is top banana. That what?" And I went into a right rabbit hole of why that accent exists. Is that something they still teaching? Because I know it was something that even as late as the 90s they were teaching that at places like Juilliard as well. Like, is that something you got taught?
Yeah, so we in voice class we talk about how accents originate and how everything got swapped and based on your geography why you speak the way you do. And in the UK, you actually way back in the olden days, you used to speak like Americans. And then when you came
Right.
to America, Americans had more land to with. Like that the accent changed. So we actually swapped our accents, the Brits and the Americans.
I didn't know that.
So
I didn't know that.
yeah,
You learned something new, Dan. I didn't
yeah,
know that.
I
So
I
we originally had American accents.
I
well, yeah,
love
I
the
think
idea of like somebody being on a boat and going, "Hey, you shoot those damn British out of the water," which just sounds the wrong way around to me.
you see, 'cause it kind of developed and actually, like, because now we kind of talk like more open mouths and all this kind of stuff. It's because we have so much space that when we speak, our mouth just kind of widen. Like we have natural jaw opening because we have so much land. Now in London and
Mhm.
in the UK, you have less space. So you close your mouth when you speak and you have less
It's like
room.
a masterclass.
Yeah,
That's
no, the
fascinating.
people in New Zealand and Australia, those are the people who were cast out, like the bad people out of the UK to, Australia and New Zealand. That's why they have like this weird Cockney accent mixed with like land because they have that type of space now. So everything makes sense.
See,
Well,
I
so
told you,
gee,
Dan,
when
she's
you say
intelligent.
space, that's absolutely blew my mind. So when you say space, because there's a load of fields in somewhere like New Zealand, my missus is from New Zealand, right? And I'm going to berate her with this in about 20 minutes. So because there's more space and they're all the wrong uns that we sent over there, right? That's prisoners speak. That's prisoners talking that we've sent over, but with access to fields. Is that
And that
have I
kind
got
of
that
has
right?
like a cool, like watery flow to it, but still with that very Cockney sound. Yeah.
Wow. Wow, because I had a conversation with her yesterday because she kept pronouncing them nachos instead of nachos, and now I know why. Cause fields.
Just fields. Yeah. You should just say it to her. Fields.
Fields.
To be honest, Dan, I don't believe you've got a missus. I've never seen her. I've never seen her. You keep saying that. It's like the woman indoors. Do you know, like on those shows
Yeah,
when
yeah.
they refer to someone in a show but you never see them? It's a bit like
Yeah, yeah.
that. So one
How
of these
Howard's mom
shows.
in Big Bang Theory just passes me food
Oh,
every now and
Yeah,
again.
yeah, exactly. But let's talk about Hauntology. Did I say it all right?
Hauntology.
yeah.
Because
That's
we saw it a few weeks back and
oh, crazy.
wonderful film. And it's doing the festival circuits. And as I mentioned at the beginning, Fright Fest at the end of this month. Are you going to the premiere for that?
I shall be there. Yes.
Awesome. So that's on from the
Do you
22nd
do
to the
you need
20th.
a couple of big, tall, strong, middle-aged white men? Because we don't get anything nowadays. Because you know how difficult it is for middle-aged white folk nowadays. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Sadly, my plus one is my partner. He's coming. Yeah.
And I'll be in
Uh,
Turkey, Dan. I'll be in Turkey, living it not very
Oh,
large.
yeah.
Uh,
uh,
sorry, what was that?
I was gonna just say, where in Turkey are you going? I've been to Antalya before.
Antalya.
Yes,
Yeah.
Italian. Yeah, I'm going there, believe it or not, to get my teeth done.
A lot of people, yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting the full grill. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I'm absolutely bricking it. So I leave on Sunday to go, and I'm really
Wow.
excited. And it's more about confidence because, believe it or not, I tried to get into acting, and I've done a few TV shows and a few films, and I actually left because it was just self confidence. It was sort of like it's very much the way you look is what they see first, and I think that talent for them, it's just and it's just not my confidence. So after Turkey in a couple of weeks, I'll be smiling ear from ear. I won't even need lights, honestly. So I feel sorry for Samantha Robinson because
Yeah.
she's just going to see the whole grill. And yeah, so I apologize in advance. But yeah, so we saw this film, amazing film. We're going to talk about it. But if you could tell the viewers a bit about what the film is about and whom you play.
So the film is about, gosh, this film was about many things. So it's basically a queer horror anthology film. So there's two sisters. I play the oldest sister, Jasmine Price, and a younger sister named Venus Price. Venus is looking to run away from her home because they are different. Venus's pronouns are they, them. And our parents don't understand Venus. So she's running away to get away from all of it. I pull up on Venus one day. I'm like, Venus, where are you going? She's like, I'm getting out of this town. It's awful. And I'm like, wait a minute. If I can share all the crazy horror stories that are going on in this town and convince you to stay from these stories, will you stay? She's like, okay, let's fine. So we go on this big mega road trip around our area, and I show her all the different things that have happened, and it links to something in between her, myself, and our family. That we need to uncover and fix, but I can't tell you what it is.
I mean, it's an extremely clever movie. It really is. I mean, what were your first thoughts when it came across your lap? You know, when you was approached about it and you got the scripts. What were your first impressions?
Well, my first impression, I was only supposed to audition for one of the ghosts. It was a small role, yeah, but I was doing the one woman show I told you about, I Shall Not Be Moved, and Parker and the producer came to view the show, and they were like, we have the lead, we're still casting for the lead. Would Samantha be open to auditioning? So I did the audition, and yeah, it went well. I ended up playing Jasmine. And yeah, the rest was history.
I mean, I love how this film challenges the audience in so many ways. You know, morally as well. I mean, how exciting was it that when you were shooting it that you had so many stories and so many messages within the project?
I love this film from the moment I read the script. To be honest, there were a few people that I knew that auditioned that didn't get it. So when I did get it, I was really excited because I'd never really see stories like this. And to this day, I haven't really seen any type of horror film and done this way. And the way Parker has written it and the way Parker's mind is really shines through the story. And because I think Parker has, a connection to this, we can see into their mind as well. So I really love it because it's not just a film for the sake of making a film. It's a
Mm,
film that someone's connected through their personal journey as well.
mm. I mean, I watched this movie without reading any description because I didn't want to spoil it for myself. And actually, I was really surprised with the content of it. Because it's a different film and it was very refreshing to watch, and representation is so important, and this film shines in so many levels. How important do you feel it is to have representation and it to be used in film to get messages across?
I think it's important, but I think it needs to be utilized as an honest
Mm,
doing rather than ticking boxes, because I do feel like I actually wrote my dissertation on this in drama school. I feel like a lot of times there's diversity quotas just to say, okay, we have someone who has a disability, someone who's othered, someone who is part of the LGBTQ community, just to tick the boxes. No one actually thinks about and speaks to or brings in a coach or someone who understands the background of each of those individuals and how they play into storylines
mm,
rather than just having them. And what Parker has done, it has just been that, like, Parker thought through, okay, I'm going to have this person of color, but why are they in the story? It's clear, like everything made
mm.
sense to me rather than just, oh, we got a Black girl, oh, we have someone who's trans, or this, that, and the third. Parker really thought it through.
Yeah, it's very natural. And there was a show on Netflix that I had a lot of the cast on from Warrior Nun. And one of the biggest things about Warrior Nun was about these two women that fell in love, and it's the moment that they kiss. and it was done so beautifully and so natural. Because unfortunately, there's, as you say, there's people out there that tick the boxes and they just do it as, I think someone described it to me as is it gay bait or something like that, where they doing something on purpose to tick that box. But this film is so natural, and I didn't even think, that people were put in positions for a certain reason. I just really enjoyed it, and
Mm.
I really enjoyed the film. I mean, I've got to say, I've said it so many times. Independent films, I feel have got more heart and soul than a lot of the big budget ones. I mean, have you got any opinion on like independent films compared to the big budget Marvel?
There's a film. I'm not going to say the name because you'll know as soon as I say the film. But they are an example of ticking boxes. It's a major motion picture. It's had like a series, trilogy, however many. It's probably like on its sixth run of whatever this is. And literally, when they did diversity, they had they had a Muslim actor, and they had I
I
think it
can
was
guess what it is. I can guess what it is already, and Star Wars.
no, it's not that,
Oh,
but
Oh God, Brian, you've just outed Star Wars on the on the internet. But we'd like to apologise to Lucasfilm, but if you want to get somebody on
But
to
what and these actors who played these supporting roles, their character names were their real names.
right.
And for me, I didn't understand, like, if you're casting an actor to play a character and they're actually, you can clearly see it's a diversity cast. Why you didn't even bother to give them new character names? What is that?
Hmm. Yeah, because there's a question here, and my apologies, because I know this is a hell of a topic to talk about, and again, I'm asking some cutting edge stuff
you're
here.
like
You know what I mean?
serious tonight. You're
I'm I'm
serious. You're
I'm,
normally
I'm
quite
serious tonight.
light-hearted, Dan.
But there is the huge. And don't get me wrong, I'm in neither camp, because there is a pressure to be in this camp or that one, especially in the UK since Brexit. You had to be in one camp or another on every topic now, on everything, and it gets brought up a lot about having a person of color in a role such as James Bond. Right now, on one hand, you've got, actor acts. It really genuinely doesn't make a difference at all, you know. But then from your perspective and the experiences that you've had, is there a part of you that wants to go, well, hang on a minute, we don't want to trample in on the white guys party. Why don't we write some good roles for some good black characters?
Mhm.
It's a very nuanced argument. It's a very, there's a lot of arguments to and from, and like I say, you don't have to be in a camp, but I feel like you can be if you wanted to, because these are genuine questions I've got. I find the whole thing really interesting, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I am a big advocate for colorblind casting. I love it. I think it's a
Hmm.
brilliant idea to understand diversity from a different, perspective. However, there are many times, and like if we're being real, that's just life. There are
Mm.
moments where a black person can't play a white person, and a white person can't play a black person. That's just how reality is.
Hmm.
Um, do I think it's getting flipped on its head? Yes. Does it always make sense? No. That's just my take on it. Like,
Because there's also, I mean, we've moved so far forward now, and at a rate of knots, you've got somebody like Jaden in this movie, who plays a character from a marginalized community, and the job that she does with that character is absolutely phenomenal, to the point where, being a middle-aged white man brought up in the 80s in Yorkshire, didn't really give a shit. But in the nicest way I can completely mean that. Does that make sense?
yeah, well, because you have no connection to it, I guess.
Right, and I just,
Yeah.
it was an actor acting, like, and it didn't, the nuances around the character's backstory and things like that, I didn't identify with, of course, but I understand that there's a struggle there, and it's got a large part to play within the story, especially at the beginning, but it didn't, like, I guess I'm kind of using you as a proxy to stare down the camera and say it don't matter. It's just,
That's the thing about, and I'm glad you brought that up because I think everyone feels like they need to, oh, I'm so connected to this piece of art. sometimes it's just for the sake of you to understand. Like
Mm.
Yes.
every story, you're not going to be like, oh my God, that poodle died. I had a poodle when I was 2. Like you might not have ever had a dog. But, but at the end of the day, there's some type of empathetic, ping in your
Hmm.
brain where it's like,
Hmm.
I had a hamster, it died. You relate in some way where you can find some type of relatable approach. And I think that's
Hmm.
all that, art and acting is about, is just finding some type of commonality and where do you go from there. But it doesn't have to be a whole, I understand this Black perspective because I was born Black or I have a Black friend. I think when people try to over explain it is
Mm.
when it becomes
Yeah.
problematic.
Let's
Just
just watch a good movie. Let's.
try it and understand. That's all it is. You know what I mean?
But
That's
it
all
is
it is.
it is silly though. It is silly. I mean, when we talk about the Little Mermaid, when they cast the Little Mermaid, I thought she did an amazing job. And you
Oh,
know
poor
what?
girl.
My kids didn't even say anything, and they've seen
It's a
the
movie about a.
cartoon.
It's a movie
So
about
it
a
just
bloody
shows
mermaid.
exactly. Yeah, they're talking about that, but yeah, obviously mermaids really exist. I mean, does it?
Yeah, yeah, and they've all got to be white. They want to be white girls with red hair, or I'm not interested in this mermaid
Exactly,
movie.
Yeah,
exactly,
because what mermaid? What color is a mermaid? I'm still
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
figure
exactly.
that.
isn't it?
So this movie, festivals, it's going to be out on the 17th of September. I urge everyone to watch it because it's a great mix. So it follows a certain amount of stories throughout the film as your character starts to describe these stories. Have you got a favorite story in mind? Can you give it a number? So then you're not giving away what the story is, but we can guess by the order, if you know what I mean.
It's tough because some of these, I'm quite biased with this film. I've seen it a lot of times, and I'm friends with a lot of these performers I knew before. But if I have, how do I give it a number? Because, in the order. Mm, okay, my favorite. Okay, my
Oh,
favorite one. Because even Parker knows this. I'm torn between these two. It's between, I'll give a clue. The Pit, you know what I'm talking about,
yeah, yeah,
Brian,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and The Paint.
Oh
Well,
yeah, yeah,
I like that
yeah.
one.
That was brutal.
This is some frustrating television for people watching this
I know.
who've not
But
seen
you
the
know
movie
what?
in it.
It is not frustrating because they need to watch it from the 17th of September and they'll know exactly what we're talking about. And just out of curiosity, the pit, that one, was that the part that you was originally going for, the ghost?
Yes, that was the
Oh,
part.
good
Wow, you
knowledge. Good spot that,
are on,
Brian. That's been racking my brain since you mentioned it about 10 minutes ago. Before we
It's
were talking about racial equality within the movie industry, I was also sat there thinking, God, which one did she nearly play?
But I'll tell you, because before I was Jasmine, there was another Jasmine. She's a phenomenal actress. She's Lindsay, who played the reporter who came to the house. You know which
Oh.
house.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
the
Mhm.
original Jasmine. She's a phenomenal actress, Lindsay. I mean, so good.
I can't wait for this to get out and for people to watch it. We've got Samantha Robinson on the show in a couple of weeks, and then we've got Zoe on the week after. So we're properly going to push this film out there for everyone to watch. Just quickly, I'm looking at the time. So when you're not being on front of the camera, showing us all your talents, you're an entrepreneur as well, which I think is crazy. So not only are you training to be a phenomenal actor, but you're also being a business person as well. I mean, what on earth drove you to start a hair and beauty company? I think it's called Last Looks Beauty. Can you tell us briefly a bit about that and where you are with that currently?
So, Last Looks Beauty is an inclusive Afro hair and makeup agency for film, fashion, stage, television, commercial, anything that you can think of that will have a performer that requires beauty services such as hair or makeup, barbering, body paint, face paint. We do it. I started the business in 2020 after graduating drama school because every time I would turn up to set or go on stage as an actor, I was told to come as a Black person. come camera ready while I watched my white counterparts go through the full hair and makeup thing. I'm like, why do I have to do my own hair and makeup? And the school and producers told me, we just can't find people who know how to do your skin tone or do your
Oh,
hair texture. So I said, you know what? Let's find all these amazing people that I know that know how to do hair and makeup for Black and brown performers, and we'll put them into an agency. And when people have a need or have a Black and brown artist that require hair and makeup services, we'll send them out. So we started that agency in 2020. We've won Best Small Business in the UK for Black Talent Awards. We are actually shortlisted as of today for the NBCC Awards, Outstanding Business. So really proud of that. We've just been
wow.
making strides. We've worked with Superdrug, EA Sports, many different
Wow.
campaigns. We've done Fashion Week. We've really made a name for ourselves in a short amount of time, considering we were closed during COVID. So last year and this year have really been great years for us.
Those are some
Wow.
amazing clients you've named there, and that's really stratospheric in, like you said, such a small amount of time, which genuinely highlights the fact that even up until 2020, that there was that gaping hole within the market, which is
Shocking, isn't
astounding
it?
to me. Yeah, good lord.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask what's next for you, and obviously
She's
from the
already doing
sound of it,
everything, Brian. It
a
doesn't matter. She's
holiday.
not
You need a
I'm
holiday.
tired.
time off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to put your feet up, a few
Turkey.
margaritas, and a nice book. But you know what, Samantha, thank you so much for coming onto the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. So remind
So much.
everyone, Hauntology. You're going to get me paranoid now about me saying my H's. Is out on the 17th of September. If you are attending Fright Fest, look it up. Attend the premiere. Samantha's going to be there as well. Are you going to be signing autographs and taking pictures, or is it going to be all low key?
And kissing babies.
Oh,
God,
kissing babies. Yes. Ah, president for
just,
Samantha.
just,
Forget Kamala Harris.
just so,
It's Samantha
just so I
next.
can make
Right.
a note. If a middle-aged white man turned up wearing a nappy, would he get a kiss as well?
my, my partner will be there. My partner will give them a kiss.
Uh,
Some some big black guy
I'll,
from South Africa. So yeah.
I'll just write no.
Excellent. Right, we're going to end the stream there. Thank you for everyone watching. We're back in 2 weeks' time with Samantha Robinson. Samantha, thank you so much. It's been an absolute honor. Don't go anywhere. We'll say goodbye properly, but we're going to play the end credits and stop the stream. So thank you.